Let's go back to 2 days ago. Jonathan Givony is, he used to run his own website. I believe it's called Draft Express. He came on to ESPN, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years ago with Adrian Wojnarowski as their kind of draft guru. And look, it's yeoman's work. Yes, you get international travel, and yes, you get to go and see players who you'd never see before. And there are kind of conflicting alliances as much as you want to just give pure opinion. Sometimes you can't, because if you're too honest, you won't get the access you want to certain players. It's just hard to be an outsider doing insider's business. So some of this is me trying not to be too critical of Givony, because I do understand that he has a very difficult job. Very difficult job. But he was the one who listed Bronny James as a top prospect, and he was the one who on his first draft board for 2024 put Bronny James going to the Atlanta Hawks at 17. And LeBron James' Instagram post on Bronny's mock selection shared this caption: "Well, ATL, Shawty, the James game will be pulling up." And there's some laughing emojis. Now, this is an easy one for LeBron to back away from, because he can go, "I was just kidding. I don't take any of that seriously." But if we go back over LeBron's tweets about his son, and we do factor in that I'm guessing Givony, as many are like, what are you going to say? Like, his son stinks? His son doesn't stink. His son's a good player. I think he's going to be a really good college player. No one on earth, in reality, in an NBA front office, believes that Bronny James, on merit, as of now, coming off of a senior season where he wasn't one of the top 5 players in his high school league, should be a top 20 pick in the NBA draft. No one. You will not find somebody who, if you stripped away all the political alliances, would say that. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, and he's not the only draft pick where there's some political alliances that pull in your favor, some that pull against you. But the likelihood of a first-round pick to a team that LeBron doesn't play for, not great. Now, remember, LeBron can opt out of next year's contract and eventually could go play with Bronny James. But this, to me, when I read it, when I see it, when I see the IG caption, there's one thing that comes to my mind. You want to know what it is? My high school coach was a man named Andy Ground. And Andy was a very good player at Hawaii Hilo. He played overseas. He came back. He worked in juvenile hall. Then he worked in secondary ed, which is basically like the high school for juvenile hall. And then in addition to that, he became a high school PE teacher. And then by my sophomore year, he was our varsity coach. And then he went on to being a junior college coach at Saddleback College, where he won a couple state titles. He retired last year from coaching, and I think this year from teaching. And he was like helping coach a local high school. It's called Santa Margarita. And I talked to him once he was telling stories about my late father. And I was talking about coaching kids in AAU. And he's like, listen, all you got to know is you can't talk to dads about their kids because they're blinded by love. Just as long as you remember that, they're blinded by love. And I actually think this is there's lots of parts of LeBron's life that it's hard for us to draw any sort of parallel on, right? I'm not 6'8", 260. So there's no part of, even his shoes, like I've never been big on, these recent shoes are better, but I've never been a proponent of LeBron shoes, not because I don't like LeBron, but he's 6'8", 260. They're designed for his body, for his game, for his foot, not for mine. Not for mine. I can't relate to where he's from in the country, but what I can relate to is not that he's a billionaire, is not that he rolls with his high school friends and they've all gotten these great jobs and made it and now made movies. Like, I can't relate to any of that. What I can relate to is, oh, he's a crazy dad just like all the rest of the crazy dads. You would think that somebody who's viewed as one of the all-time great basketball players would have the balance of, hey, it's cool, just like, let's not overrate my kid. Let's just let him experience things on his own. Don't even treat him like he's my son. Let him be his own man, et cetera, but just can't help himself. And I think that's relatable. I do. I think it's like the whole girl dad thing. We can all relate to being, if you're a girl dad, you can relate to girl dads. Like, it's just, at some point, it becomes awkward. At some point, they got to change clothes and you get kicked out. At some point, there's things that they don't want to talk about around you because you're a dad and they're a girl. Got it. That's relatable. So too is this. Of course, he's going to play it off as, man, I don't take those things seriously. I'm not seriously rolling up in Atlanta. But there ain't any doubt that there's at least a portion of his brain that's thinking, well, I wonder where he goes because maybe I'll go there. This will come across to somebody who only listens on our IG clips or in a promo as Gottlieb's hating on LeBron or hating on Bronny. No, it's not. He has a chance to be a really good college player. There is nothing about how he played this year in the last year of development that would lead you to believe he is a lock to be an NBA player and definitely not a first-round draft pick after 1 year in college. Again, guys can really improve. He can play in a better system. I like the fact that he's basically a role player, catch and shoot and try and defend, but it's not like he's going to lock dudes up. He's some super dynamic, from the time the ball goes up to the time the buzzer sounds defender. And oftentimes when you talk about a prospect's defense, it's like talking about a girl's personality. It's not really what matters. It does matter. You got to be able to guard somebody, but like, there's just games when he doesn't do much. I'm not a Bronny hater. I'm just a realist. He should be a good freshman addition to USC's team. And by his third year, probably an all-league guy. Maybe first team all-league by his fourth year. But whether LeBron is pretending like he's joking or not, continuing to push this narrative of he's a top 20 pick in next year's NBA draft, that's just a dad being a dad. And to steal from my high school coach, Andy Brown, he's just blinded by love. I get it. I mean, I'm sure Ramos, when he's coaching his son, right? He's 11, and he gets up there in the hill, like he'll mow through an inning. You're like, what if he pitched for the Dodgers?
I usually sit down, Doug, in the dugout and just because I keep score during the games.
It is hard to watch your kid pitch, isn't it?
I don't. I sit down in the dugout and kind of like keep my head down, and I try not to look at it because I don't want to see it.
I mean, wait till Byer, when his kid gets out on the golf course, like he's going to, and we all have that when you're just starting on golf, you have that one shot of the day where you have that one shot. You're like, hey, I can actually be a good golfer. His son's going to have one shot and he'll be like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put him with Hank Haney. We're going to work on his swing. We're going to have him train. Lisa's like, hold on. Everybody does it. It's impossible not to. You only want the best for your kid. Even when you should know better, you don't know better. Things that change you and make you act differently. It's like, it's like when there's a cute girl and you're in high school and you can't help it. You don't even understand why your voice changes and why your mannerisms change. Right? When the red light of a TV camera is on you, when it's not on you often and that thing is on you, you're going to act differently because you're on TV. And when your kid is performing and somebody's asking you about your kid, you just lose all perspective. That's what happens.